Hey everyone, Modern Mama Shark here, and today's video is all about trying to fix a torn stiletto. So as you can see right here, I have totally ruined these shoes. I've got this huge flap right there that I need to fix. I've also got like a little thing right here I kind of need to fill in. And then I do have on my other one, I do have like a tiny little thing I need to fill in right here, which I'm not too concerned with on this one. That looks pretty easy. But I am very, very nervous about trying to do this one. For me, I just got these resoled. So I just paid, shipped them in, got them resoled, and then I went out for dinner one night and did this. So for me, it just doesn't make sense to pay all that money again to ship them back to the cobbler and have them fixed. So I'm going to try to do it myself at home. For me, I wear Louboutins every day to work, so I know this is going to happen to me on more than one occasion. So I figured I better get good at fixing my own shoes. So I'm really hoping that in this video that I am super successful and that I'm able to show you how to do it at home and give you the confidence to do it yourself. However, there is a slight chance I could miserably fail, and at that point you will learn from my lesson and take it to the cobbler. So we'll see what outcome we have here in just a little bit. So let's get started. So first things first, how I did this, I was on a wooden deck for dinner, and my stiletto got caught in between the pieces of wood. So just for you guys to know, if you ever see a wooden deck or anything that's got little spaces anywhere, just avoid it at all costs, because there's a very good chance this will happen. I tried so hard the whole night not to let this happen, and it still did. So to get started, we have a couple of things I'm going to show you that I am going to need. First, I have leather cleaner. You always want to clean your shoe first before you do anything to it. This one is the Apple brand cleaner, but there's tons of cleaners out there. But this one I just happen to like and already have. I do have a little toothbrush that I'm going to use to kind of like help me clean it. I have the Angelus Leather Preparer and Deglazer. So I'm going to use this to help prepare the leather for being glued and everything like that. I will say I'm pretty sure this is just rubbing alcohol. So if you have rubbing alcohol, that will probably work too. But yeah, this smells just like rubbing alcohol. I do have some shoe glue. This is the Loctite shoe glue right there. So this is what I'm going to use to basically glue the leather back to the stiletto. I have a whole bunch of sandpaper. So I got a mix of different types of sandpaper. Online it tells you to use between 400 to 600 on the leather. I just got a mixed pack because I really wasn't sure if 400 was going to be too much, because the smaller the number, the grittier it is, and the harsher it will it'll be on your shoe. So I have this one, it's got 400 all the way up to 3,000. So basically every type of sandpaper you could possibly need. Now that's mostly for today. I do have water wipes as well, just in case if I want to wipe off some of the glue or anything like that. I have them right here. So that will take me through today. We're going to clean the shoe, we're going to prep it, I'm going to glue the leather back on, and then I'll need to wait 24 hours for that glue to dry. Once that happens, tomorrow I'm going to be able to come back and use this paintable repair filler to fill in any holes or little gaps. That little tear up here, not tear, but little indentation right here, that should be able to take care of that. So we're going to use that tomorrow. I do have some paintbrushes. These are Angelus as well. I've never used Angelus before. It's just what was easiest to get on Amazon. But if you have any sort of a paintbrush, synthetic or whatever, just use that. But that'll help with the repair filler. I also have this black shoe cream It's by Money's Worth and Best. I'm going to be using this to basically cover, like if there's any spots that don't look black enough, this will soften the leather and actually add a little bit of color back to it. So that is pretty much it. So why don't we get started? Oh, I'm so nervous about this, but it has to be done. So let's get started cleaning. You could probably use a washcloth, and in fact I do have washcloths here just in case, but I feel a little bit safer using this little brush for some reason to clean the shoe. And I am going to clean the entire shoe just because in case I do decide to maybe put the shoe polish over it later or something like that, it will just be nice having the shoe be completely clean. I know you don't want to saturate it really, but just get a light layer, scrub it all over, and then let it dry before you go to the next step. And actually, it's pretty much already dry, so that was pretty quick. All right, so now I'm going to use the sandpaper. I would say I'm most nervous, I think, about this part more than the actual glue, because I've never used sandpaper on Louboutins before, but. So one thing to note when you're using sandpaper, don't like scrub it like this. I know it's kind of tempting to, but you're gonna want to just go in one direction. And I'm gonna go down because I'm trying to glue the leather back down. So I'm gonna go in that same direction. It looks pretty good. I will say I think I probably should have gone with the 600. I feel like this is just a little bit too harsh. So the 400, if you have the 400, I would go with the 600. I mean, it looks okay. It did take off a little bit of that shine. So now we are on to the leather preparer and deglazer. All right. Now we are on to the glue. I'm gonna just get out a baby wipe just to have it ready because if I get too much glue, so this might be hard to show on camera, but let's see here. Oh, that's plenty. I'm just going to keep kind of pressing it in for a little bit until I feel like it's in the right spot. That looks pretty good. And now I'm going to actually hold it for 5 minutes. This will make sure it adheres very, very well. And then I will leave it on for 24 hours. I'm gonna stop the video now, and because you don't really need to see me sitting here for 5 minutes. But yes, I'm gonna sit here for 5 minutes, letting it dry, and then I will leave it overnight, and then I will be back tomorrow to finish the shoe. Okay guys, really quick, I did want to show you one more thing. So I've been holding the leather for a few minutes here. You can kind of see what it looks like. You can see a little bit of the line, but it's not too bad, and there's just a teeny bump. There we go. So I've been kind of like pressing that down, but one thing that I did that I think is really important to note, right here I've been kind of like tucking, it's hard to see on camera, but I've been making sure to like continue tucking the leather right into the side here. I think that's probably the most important thing to get right, is so that it doesn't look all bubbly and funny on the side, because that's one of the things about Louboutins, is that they're usually so neat and perfect, you know, where the red and the black meet here. So I've been going through here, I've been kind of like any spot that looks bubbly or isn't quite in the right spot. I've been kind of like pressing it around, and then specifically I have been trying to press the leather back in here where it's supposed to be. So that'll be it for today. I'll be back in a second. So it is day 2, and we are going to continue on our little project. So we waited over 24 hours for the glue to dry, and now we're going to move on to using the repair filler. Now for this project, we really basically have just glued the leather back onto the stiletto. I didn't do anything with that little nick up here yet. We're going to take care of that today with the repair filler. I honestly, it looks better than I thought it would look. I think I did a pretty decent job of tucking it right here back into where the red is. I kind of missed a spot right there, but hopefully we can take care of that today. It's a little bumpy, but the repair filler should help with that. So one thing I will say is I really don't think I needed to sandpaper it yesterday. I know I will need to later today after I'm done with the repair filler and it dries, but I think because I sandpapered it, it made it look super matte, and it kind of took off some of that texture that you can see like up here. So we'll see if that actually matters in the end, how it looks, but that's the only thing I think I could have probably gotten away with not doing. We are going to use the repair filler to get a couple of other little, let's see, where's that one at? There we go. A couple of other little spots right here. You can see that one was a pretty deep one. And then I do have another little one up here, which you can kind of see. Let's see, there we go, right there. So we're going to take care of those today as well. So I have the repair filler. I was going to use a brush, the Angelus brushes that I showed you yesterday, but I think I'm going to try to use this first because there's a lot of just small little spots that need the repair filler. I don't have huge sections, and I think this little piece in particular, this end, will do a good job of getting that repair filler in there. So I'm going to try this first before moving on to the brushes if I need to. This is just one of those little cheapo things that you use for like your cuticles when you're doing your nails. I don't remember what they're called, but anyways, so let's get started. So we're gonna get the repair filler. You can see it's pretty thick, like very kind of a pasty material. All right, so let me see here. Start out with this little spot right here. You really don't have to like swirl it or do anything, just kind of dab it on. Trying to get into all the little nooks and crannies. I do think this little wooden stick is actually working better than the paint brushes would have, so I definitely would recommend using one of these unless you have really, huge gashes in there. But okay, so I think they look pretty decent. I'm gonna let them sit for a few minutes, and then I will probably come and wipe off the excess, and then wait for it to dry. So I'll be right back. All right, guys, super quick. I'm going to show you what it looks like when you kind of wipe off the excess, so, just in case. It's kind of actually hardened quite a bit, so I'm able to put a little bit of effort into wiping it off. You can kind of see where it filled in there, and you can actually see, yeah, like here where it got into the nooks and crannies, and that was what I was hoping for. So let's see, we'll do this one. Anyways, we'll be back in a couple hours and we will try to finish this project. Okay guys, so the past 24 hours have been a bit of a fiasco for me. I'm going to put a couple clips in here, but I'm not going to show you the whole ordeal because you will probably see about 2 hours of me cursing the whole time while I try to put the paint refiller onto my shoes. So what I learned so far, first off, I think I'm at a good spot. Just got a couple little spots left. Then I need to sand down and then use the shoe cream on. This one actually looks good. I didn't sand enough. So there's kind of like this little bump there. So I'm going to sand that down here and then cover it up again with the shoe cream. So what I learned, this stuff right here, it definitely hardens really quickly. The first time I put it on pretty thick, and then I was going to wipe the excess off. And that would have worked, except that I waited 5 minutes, and that's actually apparently too long. So it was very, very, very hard, and so I really couldn't wipe it all off. So then I used the sandpaper to kind of sand everything down, but I think I sanded a little too much. I put some of the shoe cream on, and that was actually really helpful because when I did that, I could really see what spots I still needed to work on. So I did that, and then once I did that, I found these couple little spots that still had very tiny like holes or little indentations that needed to be filled. So I was able to fill those up. I'm super excited now that I used this little wooden stick, because this was actually perfect just to get into like the little nooks and crannies and the tiny details. Not gonna focus, but anyway, so yeah, this was actually really great just to do little tiny spots. So I was able to kind of get in there real deep. What I did was I put a little bit in to like that wherever the hole was that I needed to fill, and then I waited a couple of minutes, and then I'd either put a little more in or I'd wipe off the excess. If you're hoping to wipe off the excess, it definitely 2 minutes max, and then start wiping. Otherwise it's going to be too hard, like what happened with me. It's going to be too hard to wipe that excess off, and you're probably going to have to sandpaper it down. So it's still a good idea to wait a while before you sandpaper it down. But this has only been on for like a couple hours, and I think I'm kind of good to go. So I'm going to sandpaper it and then go from there. It is very hard using the sandpaper. I think if I had maybe gotten like something to hold it. I know like I'm sure they have like small little holders that you could attach it to. I think that would have actually helped out a lot more than me trying to use it with my hands. So if you're going to do this at home, I definitely suggest getting something that will hold the sandpaper for you, so it's a little bit easier. Oh, there we go. That actually looked really good. So I had a lot of excess, and it basically, and just a little bit was on the top, and when I sandpapered it, it just took all that excess off and left the white filler right in the hole where I wanted it. So that worked out really good. There's definitely a little bit of a learning curve with the filler. So I would probably practice on, I guess, other shoes that aren't Louboutins if you can, but if not, just know it might take a couple of times, you know, filling and refilling and everything. Okay, so we're done with that. I'm going to use the prepper again, and then we'll do the shoe polish. I honestly did not actually see directions anywhere telling me to use this. Just FYI, it just seemed to make sense to me to use it to kind of clean it up and prepare it again, but it is just kind of a step that I made up. Okay. Shoe polish. Shoe cream, whatever. I really don't think it matters what type of a towel you use. I just happen to have this old baby, you know, cloth, washcloth. So once again, I'm going to put this on, and then I'm going to let it sit for a minute while I do the other shoe, and then go back and kind of smooth at least over the whole stiletto and then the rest of the shoe. All right. So I'm going to let that dry for a bit, and then I'll come back and I'll buff it, and we'll see how it looks. Wish me luck. Oh. Okay, guys, so I'm almost done, I swear. I used the shoe cream all over this, and I was gonna go through and buff it, and I just saw like a couple of more little tiny spots that weren't totally even, or just little indentations I wanted to fix. I might just have OCD, I'm not gonna lie, but I really want this to look perfect. So I went ahead and I used the little stick again, and I just put the tiniest amounts in there, and I've kind of waited for them to dry. I wanted to show you this though, so you could see how hard it actually seems to be. It's a fairly simple process, but getting the entire shoe just to look like perfect and even has been a lot more challenging than I thought it would be. So I've basically done several little rounds of the shoe filler and then buffed it out, and then done more shoe filler over and over again, probably like 4 times now, just to try to make sure that everything looked perfect and even, to look even and kind of flush with itself. And that was a lot harder than I thought it would be to do. I'm hopeful. I think this is gonna look good, but it's just it definitely took a lot more work than I thought it was gonna take to do. It seems so simple, just kind of like gluing it back on basically. Even though it was a huge tear, it was such a clean tear. It wasn't like I had a whole lot I had to sandpaper off, but it's been pretty hard. Okay, anyways, we'll be back here in a couple minutes and I will show you what it looks like. While I'm letting this dry, I'm gonna go through and actually buff the rest of the shoe, because it's probably been a couple hours since I put the shoe cream on the whole shoe, and that is definitely plenty enough time to just go through and buff it. I highly recommend this shoe cream if you have the black Napa. My gosh, it looks super good. I mean, it really does. It looks brand new. That looks amazing. So I'm gonna do something a little crazy, but the shoe almost looks perfect. It's just got a couple little spots. So I'm gonna actually use this just to I'll use this, but just to kind of. I officially have OCD. Alright guys, so it's the moment of truth where I show you how the stilettos turned out, and you can decide whether or not you want to risk it for the biscuit and try this at home on your own. So first I'm going to show you the easy one. This is the one that only had a minimal damage, and it looks pretty good. Honestly, it looks way better than I thought it was going to be. Let's see here. There we go. You can see a tiny little indentation right here, but I mean, there's actually 2 or 3 spots, and so I think that's really the only place you can really tell. Let's see here. Oh, I lied. You can see right there. But honestly, it looks pretty good overall. I will say, I'm going to get into this in a minute, but the one thing I should have done was taken a little more care with the repair filler, and this would have been smooth. But here is the really, really bad one that basically had just ripped off the entire, a whole chunk of leather right here. And this is what it looks like now. And honestly, you can see a couple indentations. But other than that, I think it looks pretty decent. I mean, I would definitely wear this around and not be too concerned about anybody really noticing. There we go. You can obviously see now, but we're super close on the camera. There we go. So it's not great, but it's really not bad. You can tell something happened. But again, it's not, it's not terrible. From a distance, I know it looks, there we go, you can see right there too. From a distance though, honestly, it's not too bad. I'm actually fairly happy with these for my first time. I'm very happy with everything I used. The glue is fantastic, worked great. Didn't get sticky, stuff all over my hands either. It was great at just sealing the leather and then not gluing to my fingers. I liked the cleaner. The leather preparer was great. Like I said, this is basically like acetone or rubbing alcohol or something like that. It's really basic. And I really like the shoe cream. I'm going to keep using that just to keep my shoes looking nice, because it was amazing. It made them look brand new. They're so shiny now, just like they were when I first got them. Okay, for the leather, or for the paintable repair filler. First, this thing was awesome. I would definitely suggest using something like this that has a more pointed tip, or maybe not pointed, but just something small, so you can really get into the nooks and crannies with the repair filler. The reason these are still a little bit bumpy and not super perfect is because I put way too much of this stuff on it in the beginning, way too much. I thought that I could wait I thought I could wait 5 minutes and wipe a lot of it off. So that was kind of my plan. I just put a whole bunch on, got it into the nooks and crannies, but put a little bit extra on, and then I was going to rub that off. And that didn't happen, because 5 minutes later, literally just 5 minutes later, it was already hardened to the point where I had a very hard time getting the excess off. So if you are wanting to use this, I would be very careful, a little bit at a time. It's buildable, so do a little, and then if you need more, just a little bit more, and then a little bit more. If you do get too much on it, wait a minute, 90 seconds to 2 minutes max. Just so at least part of it can kind of get a little bit harder, but not so hard to where you can't wipe it off. So I would say between 1 to 2 minutes, literally 1 to 2 minutes. Wipe off the excess at that point if you do think you got too much on there. So that was my biggest mistake. But like I said, honestly, even with that, I mean, they're not perfect, but they're not terrible, considering that, this one literally had, lost a whole chunk of leather. It's really not too bad. So I am pretty happy with this for my first time. If you do have the money and you want to pay to send them to a cobbler, I would totally recommend that as well. It's probably going to look even better. For me, like I said, it just didn't make sense to spend all that money to mail these in again when I just got them back. But I like this. I'm probably going to keep trying and doing this more often, because I wear my shoes every single day to work, my Louboutins, and I have 3 hot chicks, so I know I'm gonna continue to have issues and probably have mistakes and cut chunks out or whatever of the leather, and I'm gonna need to do this. So I'm gonna keep practicing, and hopefully in a year I'll have a much better video and better advice. But yeah, so not too bad, not perfect, but passable, I would say, as my first time. Hopefully this gave you enough information to where you can determine whether or not you feel comfortable fixing your stilettos at home, or if you want to spend the money and send them to a cobbler. So let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye!